with that. Yeah, so quick one. So before we start the meeting, right? In case you guys are unable to hear me, or probably I could not speak louder, please kindly call my attention to that. I hope that's fine. Okay, so okay. All right, so thank you for notifying that. All right. So please can you all see my screen? Please can you let me know when you can see this? Okay. So can I get any response? Okay, so you can just make use of the chat box.
Yes,
All
I
right.
see.
Okay, you notified. All right, thank you. Yeah, so once again, I welcome you all to this session. I hope you all know what we are taking today, which is user research techniques. But before we start, I would love to introduce myself. Fela Molola, a product designer, Pronage, right? Yeah, so that's just a little about myself. Yeah, so like I said, we'll be treating user research techniques. And what we'll be doing under that is how to create research plan, how to recruit participants, and also how to write a research report. Trust me, I want this class to be an interactive session. So, like I said, for those that are just joining us, I welcome you all to this session once again. So, like I said, please, if you know you can't hear me well, try to notify me and yeah, so that's it. All right, so let's start. All right, so okay, so before I start, I would love to ask a question. Is there anyone that is familiar with what user research is all about? Like probably you guys they've taken you guys on user research as a topic, or you know what user research is all about. So you can just use this chat box to start with that, so I know where to start from. Is there anyone? So can I get response from you? Oh, fine. It's not an issue. If no, you've not heard of user research, it's fine. Just just use the chat box, no or yes or something. I still can get any response. Okay, yeah, okay. So, is there any other person? I needed to ask this question so I know where to start from. We can't just start from this topic and without knowing what user research is all about. So I need to know if you guys are really familiar with it. All right. At least let me get one more response and we are good to go. Is there anybody else? All right. Okay. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Karima. Thank you. That's good. All right. So I'll be starting now. To my own understanding, right, user research is a primary study of target users' demands and pain points in order to provide an insight and gain knowledge that advance the design process, right? So I'm sure some of us, or let me say 90% of us, are quite familiar on how research is an important part of our product design process, right? And the reason is because it's literally help us to validate demand and also the need for a product, right? So which means that before any design, before any development work, before any design begins from your end or whatsoever, you literally need to conduct some research, right? And it's very, very important. And this is because you don't want to assume for your users. You don't want to assume for your target users, right? So it's quite important for you to conduct research, which makes you more okay. You're actually like putting your your target users in mind, right? And trust me, it's very, very crucial for you to assess whether there is a need to solve a problem before you jump into designing a solution. Do you get? So that's just a simple definition about what user research is all about. So, and I'm sure probably most of us were in our final year, some are done with school. We did something called research in school back then in school, right? So this is just for you to know that okay, user research is quite important, right? It's very, very important to your design process. And you being a design user experience designer, you can't escape user research process and what's not. So okay, so we're starting now. I had to give a brief description about what user research is all about. So this next one I'll be talking about now is user research plan, right, which is part of our topic. So I'll be starting with user research plan. So it's just okay. So let me just start now. So user research is a written document, right? That literally outline objective, the goals, requirements, and the most crucial details you discuss with your stakeholders during the research studies, right? Which helps to keep the team focused on the who, what, why, and when of your projects, right? So before I continue, I hope I'm not too fast. How you guys flowing? Okay, so can I just get response? So okay. And trust me, if you know I'm too fast, just try to call my attention. So I try to slow down. All right. So, okay. So, like I said, this is what user research plan is all about. And there is a thing about user research plan, right? It helps you to start, it helps you to like have a starting point, right? Which helps you to write easily, keep your team focused. Like what I said, it helps you to keep your team focused on the who, what, why, and when of your project, right? So basically, some researchers, or let me say some UX researchers, they fail to plan. And we all know this quote that says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We all know that quote, that familiar quote, right? So it's quite applicable to this. So many researchers fail to prepare because they believe they don't know enough about user research, or probably to set a budget, a time frame, or probably a procedure and whatnot, right? So you being a user researcher or a user experience designer, a product designer, you need to conveniently forget that planning is the foundation of any successful endeavor, right? And it helps you to have your skills enough. You know, if you see some, or let me say some designers out there, some what they focus on is the UIs. And trust me, if your UI is beautiful, you know, aesthetics pleasing, and it's not functional, it's not usable, trust me, your product is not going to work. And there's something about drop off rate. There's something about churn rate, right? So this might actually lead to drop off rate of a product. So this is one of the reasons why it's quite important for you to have a research plan. So, okay, let me just set an illustration. Probably you're trying to work on a project, right? And all you just do is, okay, I want to conduct a research, I want to conduct quantitative research, I want to conduct qualitative research, right? Without having a proper planning of your research, right? Fine, it might turn out to be a good one for you, but trust me, it's quite important for you to have a research plan. So this is going to give you an overview of how you're going to plan your research. How do you want to conduct the research, the procedure, the budget, the incentive, and all of that. So it's very, very important for you to have a research plan, right? So, and also creating a user research plan, it also helps you to leverage on multiple perspectives, right? Even from your project stakeholders, from your teammates. Um, okay, so I could remember there was a time when I was still freelancing, I think as a last year or 2020. So what I did then was just for me to just do my normal research without having a proper planning. And it's resulted to me having a plan that I could not even communicate well with my stakeholders, and also more to also collaborate with other team members, right? So I could not even talk well with my developers, my PMs, and all that, which is my product manager, right? So you having a research plan, it helps you to like make your stakeholders and other team members, it makes them to be aligned on whatever planning you're trying to do on this particular product, right? And trust me, even your stakeholders, they can also help you to understand where techniques might not work, right? Or probably the timelines may be too tight, or probably this budget that insufficient for them to execute a research project. And trust me, for you to be able to conduct a user research plan, it's a whole lot. I won't lie to you, because it's a whole lot that I put into it, right? There was something we did at my office that was last week, right? Okay, so let me still follow up. So I hope you guys are still flowing. Hope I'm not too fast. Can you guys hear me well? Okay, that's
We
fine.
can.
All right, thank you. So there was something we did at my office, which was last week, right? So the PM was in charge of having our research plan. He actually had to budget a whole lot that was put into it, right? So when it comes to the budget, the incentive we are going to give our audience, right? So we actually conducted a field studies research, right? So we're going out to do field studies to understand how our product works for our target users, right? So what we did for us was for us to have a user research plan. I would have loved to show you guys the plan, but it's not something I could show out. So I would have just show you what it looks like, right? So the user research plan is just for you to like make your team focused, show your stakeholders, right? Because trust me, you being a user experience designer, you don't have the right to determine, okay, this is the amount you want to give it. No, because you don't want to use the money to spend on these users, right? So it's very, very important to know, okay, this is the amount you might want to spend. Take it to your stakeholders. You guys should just like, okay, have a good communication that, okay, this is how we're going to do this is how we're going to do that. Do you understand? So that's just basically what user research plan is all about. So the next one is why user research plan. What I said, I just had to bring to point out two research plan. And okay, so let me just say this. The class, this is our class for today, right? We are going to be focusing more on life studies, right? So it's just, let me say it's my own personal, not even personal, but it was kind of process we did at my office. So I just want to make it more something that is live for you guys. That, okay, if you want to conduct a user research plan, this is how I'm going to do it. Fine, trust me, it's not linear, right? Whatever plan I decide to use today for a particular product, it might not work for tomorrow's product. Do you understand? So you can always try to explore more on how to conduct or how to write a proper user experience research plan, right? So the first one I'm going to pinpoint here is it helps you to stay and the entire team to be centered on your goals and objective of your project, right? And I said something when I was trying to define what user UX research plan is all about, right? Part of what I said was it helps you to you and your stakeholders, it helps you guys to be focused on whatever plan you're trying to commit out there, right? And trust me, it also helps you and your entire team to orient what readers to the needs and also expectation behind the purpose of your studies, right? And okay, so when it comes to user research plan as well, there are some key points you might want to list out, probably for yourself, for your other team members, and also for your stakeholders, right? Which should include your the purpose of the study, right? It's very, very important. Also include your problem statement, right? Which is a very primary question you're also trying to set out to answer with your research findings, right? So okay, so I think we're still going to go to that. Don't let me rush you guys. Yeah, so the other one, it prevents you from research and project errors, right? So when I was defining what UX research plan is all about, I said something about that, right? So it prevents you from probably have to, okay, I think I did a mistake here. I could not do this well. Wow, I forgot to do this, right? There'll be nothing like that. So that's why it's quite important for you to always have a research plan, right? It's very, very important. So you don't need to, it also helps you to even avoid anything that has to do with back and forth, right? So all of that, you just need to be very careful when you're trying to write your user experience research plan, right? So the next one is how to create a research plan. So whatever point I'm giving you guys out here, This was the point I used for my field studies last week, right, at the office. But then I said something that's not linear. You might not want to use this plan, right? So it's not a must for you to follow this plan, right? But trust me, all of this also it's very, very important for you to include when you're trying to create one, right? So okay, so I also said something that this kind of research plan I have here, right? What I have about 8 of these. If I'm to start a new project, a new product tomorrow, I might just have to follow just 4 of these plans, right? So just know that it's not linear, it varies. So let me just put it that way, it varies, right? So the first one is write down your research problem statement, which is the same thing as the background of your project or the background of your product, right? So what this includes is this kind of section, right? This problem statement section, it should be brief, right? So, and I'm sure we're familiar with what case study is all about, right? So there's something about case study. I'm sure you guys used to see this our UX case studies. Probably you've seen them on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and all of that, right? So it's just something similar. So just make sure that you write down your problem statement. It's very, very important. So it's always important for you to take your stakeholders and other team members, right? Make sure they are well aligned and always make sure that they understand why you're undertaking the research, right? And what plan you try to accomplish at the end of this research plan. Do you understand? So it's very, very important. Probably you might just look for a problem around your environment and okay, I want to write a case study on this. And there is one thing about case study. It doesn't mean that okay, maybe case study doesn't even have to involve your high fidelity designs, which is your UIs, right? So you might just look at a problem around you and you want to try to solve the problem, right? So probably when you get to your research process, you may also want to follow through this process for you to be able to conduct one. Though, just know there is nothing like stakeholders, right? So it may just be like a play project to you. So that's just it basically, right? So that's just what your problem statement is all about. Make sure it's very, very brief and short. So the most important thing is just for you and your stakeholders should know what you are solving and the plan you try to accomplish at the end of it, right? So the next one is what are the UX research plan objectives, right? So when it comes to the objective of your research plan, this statement actually captures what you wish to accomplish, right? We all know what objectives is all about now. So it's not just applicable to only user experience or whatnot, right? So objectives can even come maybe you want to buy a food. What are the objectives? Sorry, I'm trying to use the word food. What are the objectives you're trying to accomplish when you finish eating this food, right? So just look at it that way. So the statement actually just captures what you wish to accomplish at the end of your research, right? So you can also try to ask questions like, why are you conducting this user experience research, right? It's very, very important. So you can just have it like a bullet points, right? So something like that. You can also have what problem do you hope to solve, right? So these are what you can try to include on your objectives, right? So I've mentioned 2. So we have number 1, I mentioned what you wish to accomplish with your research, right? The next one, how do you wish to is it how do you wish? No, why are you conducting your user experience research? Yeah, I think that's what I mentioned earlier. So the next one, I think I could just remember 3 of it. Then what is the end goal after completing the research? Think it's about 5. I could just remember 3 now. So, yeah, so just try to. The most important thing is just for you to understand what kind of objective you want to include in your research plan, right? So, what is the end goal after completing the research, right? It's very, very important because all of these you can, okay, I think I didn't even mention the tools you can use. But trust me, you can make use of any tools, right? It's just for you to be able to document whatever research plan you're trying to push forward to your stakeholders. You can even use a Google Docs, right? You can use Google Docs. You can use Figma. Even Figma, in fact, Figma does a whole lot for us now. You can even use PowerPoint, right? So the most important thing is just for you to let your stakeholders and your other team members know whatever research plan you are trying to conduct. Do you understand? So, and also know that getting answers to this question should be a collaborative effort, right, between your stakeholders and your team members. It's just basically those that are involved in your project, right? And it's important for you to define this properly because they will also try to form the basis of your research questions. And trust me, you being a user, let me say UX researcher, a product designer, or a UX designer, right? You can't write a research plan alone. It's though I think Nigeria companies are now abused now, right? When you get to these FANG companies, Fortune 500 companies like likes of Google, Apple, Amazon, and all of that, most of them do have UI designers, they have UX designers, they have product designers, and they also have UX researchers, right? Though the work is more on the UX researchers, right? Because they all know all of this, right? But there, you can't try that in Nigerian firms. You can't try that here. Because most of them, you being a UX, see, even if you call yourself a UI designer or UX designers, most of them, you still have to undergo some of this process, right? That's because probably there's not enough funds for them to employ more of this talent, right? So just know that, okay, you being a UX designer, maybe for now in Nigeria, you need to understand all of this. And even if you finally got yourself into Apple, Google, and all of that, it's quite important for you to know the basics of all of this, right? So probably you were asked the questions and you don't want to feel dumb, when they ask you this kind of question. So it's quite important for you to know all of these techniques, right? So the next one is for you to gather available research question, which is number 3. Gather available research question, right? So the thing now is, after you're done writing your problem statement, you are done with your research plan objectives, right? The next thing you need to come up with is your research questions, and this should be based on your objectives, right? So just know that whatever objective you're trying to write in number 2 should is going to inform whatever question you're trying to ask in number 3. Do you understand that? So, and also note something, right? This is not the same thing as interview questions. So, yes, I just have to pinpoint that it's not they're different, right? So, research questions, probably the kind of question you want to ask your users, your end users, right? Trust me, it's very, very different from your interview questions, right? And this is the kind of section where you write down the research questions to ask during the user interviews, right? And when it comes to your user interviews, or probably when it comes to qualitative research, right? We have different method of research, right? We have the qualitative, we have quantitative, we have observative, behavioral, and attitudinal, right? So when it comes to research questions, your user interview, I mean, that comes in under your qualitative research, right? And this section, you just have to, or let me put it this way, the kind of research you're trying to conduct is going to inform whatever questions you're trying to ask during your interview process. Um, Hi guys, please hope you guys are still flowing. Like, hope I'm not too fast. Can you all hear me clearly? So I need more response. Okay.
Can you? Yes, we
All
can.
right. Thank you so much, guys. All right. So, what did I stop saying? So, like I said, this is kind of section where you try to write down your research questions, right? For you to ask during the user interviews. And when it comes to brainstorming your research question, it's always important to determine if the goal is to create a new design or to fix an existing design. So, all this is very, very important, right? So, there's something called UX audit, right? So UX audit means is just like a process or a technique for you to pinpoint less than perfect areas in your designs, right? Though UX audit, we can say it's more applicable in existing designs, right? So you can even use this heuristic, this usability heuristics that NNG dropped for us. If we check the articles, right? So all this is very important actually. So probably you're trying to work on a new design, right? The kind of questions you're going to ask, it will be different from what you're going to ask when it comes to existing designs. Do you understand? So you may want to conduct UX audits on your existing designs, and that's when your research comes in, right? You get to know the kind of questions you're going to ask. And if your objective is to build probably a new design, right, then your question should be focused on observing the user behaviors, and just make sure that you leverage more on mental models, right? And there's something about mental model. Hope I'm not using too much of grammar. Yeah, so there's something about mental model, right? Mental model is just how can I put this? Okay, so it's just like you trying to work on based on what you know when it comes to your behaviors. Is it behaviors? Yeah, so let me put it behaviors. So just like let me set an illustration. You are in your room, right? And you're trying to open the door. You already know the handle that you work with, right? Where you're going to try to use to open the door, right? So that you already stick to your brain that okay, this is a normal thing for me to do to open the door. That is what is called meta model, right? It's just something that you are it's part of you. Yes, let me just put it that way. It's part of you already. Like that's a meta model, right? Something that works with your brain, right? Your psychological aspect and all of that. Chicket. So and also if your goal is to fix an existing design, like I said, you can use your maybe probably you want to conduct UX audits or whatnot, right? Then you ask questions about usability, right? So it's just for you to be able to improve the current design you want to work on, or whatever the goal is. Trust me, your aim is just for you to have an open-ended questions. Do you understand? I've mentioned 3 points. I hope you guys are still flowing. So I just need to, catch up with you guys so it doesn't look like I'm talking to myself. Um, okay, all right, thank you. So the next one is participant recruitment for your research. Yeah, so you can see that I'm trying to list all of this process, right, based on the kind of product or projects you want to work on, right? So when it comes to participants, we all know what participant is, right? So this is just probably those you want to recruit for your research, right? So though most of them are literally based on the target users of the product you're working on. Do you understand? So when it comes to participant profiles, right, they actually helps you to determine who you want to recruit, right? Or you can even have approximation of your users, right? So it's just for you to be able to optimize your recruiting efforts. So there is something about this participant recruitment as well, right? So there are some few examples on how you can also ensure you have the best participant for your study or for your research. So what you just need to do is okay, let me just say this. There's a time we were actually trying to do some research at my place, right? So when it comes to participants, we are trying to recruit external participants, right? So that is after we are done with the internal. We are the internal participants. We try to see what we've worked on. How can we do this? The objective, the question, we've already done that from our own end. So we needed to recruit external guys, right? So what we had to do then, if I could recollect, is we tried to define what our target user is, right? So what we had to do then was for us to collaborate with internal stakeholders. These internal stakeholders are my line manager was part of them. The line manager for product management was there. Then also our CPO, which is the chief products and innovation guy, right? So we those are the internal stakeholders. Then together with some other designers, I was part of them as well. So we had to like collaborate. We had to talk. We had to, in fact, we did weekly sprints and all of that, right? So it got to a point that we had to involve our marketing team, our sales team, and our customer support team. This is quite important, right? And again, before I finish or before I continue, I would love you guys to read this book, Lean UX. It's very, very important, right? It's going to even give you an insight on how to collaborate with some cross-functional teams, right? Which is like of your sales team, marketing, customer support, customer success. Because trust me, even these sales guys and marketing team, they deal more with customers, right? And we all know that they okay, maybe probably someone wants to go to your customers, see how they're doing, understand what their pain point is or their difficulty using your product or whatnot. Do you understand? So, and with their help, we literally create approximation about who our users is, right? So, because this is going to be a great starting point for you to find the right users for your study, the right participants for your study. Do you understand? So it's very, very important. Just what I'm trying to say in essence here is just for you to do more collaboration with your team members, with your stakeholders. Do you understand? So um okay, so the next one now is okay, there's also something I want to say about this participant. So okay, yes, so I remembered when it comes to your competitors, right? So probably I want to work on, let me set an illustration. Uber, it's not like logistic products, right? We have Quick, we have maybe I think Gokada or I can't remember. I think Gokada, right? So what you could just do is just try to create your participant profiles based on your audience. Yeah, it's very, very important, right? And also know something that recruiting people who use your competitors' products can also be an excellent way to glean insights into how you can also improve your products, right? I know it's very, very important. Do you understand, guys? Like it's very, very important. And reason is because maybe probably you're trying to work on Uber and you have someone that uses Gokada products. Trust me, you want to know the reason why they're using that Gokada product. Do you understand? You want to know the reason, right? So you need to understand why they're not even using your own products. Do you get the point? So you need to understand this. You need to be more intentional about what your users want as well, right? So and also your participant profile should also be some or probably try to collect some relevant information. Let me put it that way, right? So when it comes to your target users, just try to include their behaviors, do you get their needs, demographics, and even their geography, whatnot, right? So, including all this information will help you to evaluate whether or not to include certain individuals in your user research plan. Do you understand? So, like I was saying, it's very, very important for you to include some of this the relevant information. Do you understand? So this is just going to avoid you not to start going to their DM, trying to have more than one meeting with them, trying to disturb them. And time is money. Do you understand? So you just have to respect all of that. Try to document all of this. Um, you can even have it as a user persona, right? I know a user persona include all of these, their image, their biography, their demographic, everything about them. You understand? It's just for you to be able to understand what the behavior is, their needs, even the goals, or what they're expecting, what their pain point is. Do you understand? So it's very, very important when it comes to your participant recruitment. The next one is choosing the right UX methodology. Okay, so there's also something. So I'm still trying to remember this participant because I read an article last week on NNG. I don't know if you guys are familiar with NNG blog, which is Nancy Norman Group, right? They said something about research, right? Which is they show that research shows that five tests participants will uncover 85% of your product's usability issues. Do you understand? So, which means that probably you have five participants, right? Trust me, just know that those five participants they can even help you to uncover 85% of your product usability issues. Do you understand? So, but just make sure that those five people they are, you are literally sure of them. These people can give you the relevant information you're trying to uncover from them. Do you understand the point? And just know something that if you're also trying to discover trends among users, then you will need a larger example of participants. Yeah, it's a it's a normal thing. Do you get the point? Which will also help you to establish your quantitative findings so you can present a more convincing case to your clients or probably to your stakeholders. Do you understand? So we'll move to the next one. Choose the right research methodology. So I've come again. Hope you guys are still flowing with me. Hope you are still flowing with me.
Yes, very much.
All right, thank you. Yeah. So the next one is for you to choose the right research methodology. When it comes to your methodology, right, this should also be informed by your research questions, which is what I have in number three. Do you understand? So probably you're trying to start with you want to create a research plan. And what you had to do first was for you to choose your research methodology. Trust me, there will be a whole lot of back and forth. Do you understand? So you need to undergo some of this process before you can even choose the right methodology. So know that if you jump to your methodology, right, some questions are best answered by your customer interviews, while some probably the answered through your trade testing, your tax analysis, or even field studies. Like I said, we went for a field studies last week, and the kind of research we are trying to conduct, it helps us to know the kind of methodology we are going to use or we're going to undergo. Do you understand? So probably if we are trying to do a tree testing also is also part of user research. Do you get? So if you are trying to conduct tree testing research, it might be different from the one we did, which is field studies. Do you understand? So this is very, very important, right? I know that many studies will also include many multiple methods. Yeah, it's normal, right? And your method should also complement each other so that your data you gather will also help you to get a complete picture of the problem area. So I said this plan I listed out here. See, you don't have to make it a constant thing for you that okay, I want to work on a food project and I have to undergo through this whole process. I want to work on logistic products. I have to undergo through this. No, like I said, it's not linear. Do you understand? So just know what works for you, what you think will be the best thing for you to push out a good research plan. The next thing is determine your research budget, right? So when it comes to budget, right? See, budget is very, very important of your research planning, right? More money also makes it easier for you to choose the right user research. Let me give you guys a gist. Not even just like that, but I would have loved to show you guys the documents we pushed out there last week for a research plan, but I can't even do such, right? So this, when it comes to our budget, right? So the plan is we undergo field studies research, right? So what we had to do is we went to Oshodi. I hope you guys know you know Oshodi, right? It's very, very stressful, trust me. So I and my other lady, she's an intern, and then together with two PM product managers. So we went to Oshodi to conduct field studies. It was so stressful. I was working in the hot sun and but before we even go to Oshodi, we had to do something like a research budget, right? So what we had to do is we intend to give our users, those that tested our products, we intend to give them 3,000 naira and a face cap. Do you understand? But we later did not give them 3,000. We actually said that okay, if I give them 3,000, it's a whole lot. So we had to reduce the budget to 1,000 naira and a face cap, which means whoever gave us an honest feedback will give them 1,000 naira recharge card, airtime, right, together with a face cap. So it was so interesting. So can you see how it's very important for you to create a research plan? So just imagine that we don't create a research plan. We just went to the market that okay, we have 200K, want to be sharing money. No, it even looks as if we are doing that because of politics. And politics is here already, right? So we have to like do a proper research and see, okay, Will this benefit us? Will it benefit the business? Will it benefit the users? Do you understand the point? So that's for our research budget. The next one is for us to determine your approximate research timeline. Yes. So when it comes to timeline, just know that this might be optional, right? Yeah, it might be optional. You can say, maybe I want to conduct street testing today. It might take me 3 days. I want to conduct field studies today. It might take me 5 days. So that is the reason why I said it is optional, right? But trust me, many research plans they used to include a timeline that offers your stakeholders a general overview of how long the research will take. Do you understand? But it's very, very important. Even if you can give your stakeholders a specific time, just give them a range, time range that okay, we're looking at 24th to 25th of this month, 26th to 28th of next month. Do you understand? So it even gives your stakeholders an overview that okay, this person knows what he or she is doing, and when they even expect to hear from you. Do you get? So it helps you to also set expectation for your final results, as well as allowing you to create a schedule for your research sessions. Do you understand? And also when it comes to deliverables, um, I don't know, but by the time you guys start taking projects, you know how intentional your stakeholders are. That they really want to. They're more intentional about deliverables. In fact, see, most of them they don't even care about all this research and whatnot. They don't even care. But only if they're tech savvy, right? Some might be maybe they know about products. Do you understand? So those are the kind of people that can even understand all of these things, all these all these jargons I'll be saying. Sorry to use the word jargons, but it's a normal thing, right? So if you're working with a non-tech savvy person, they can't even understand it. They just want to see the UI. That's what most of them are more intentional about money, about conversion rates and whatnot. Do you understand? So that is the reason why I said an approximate timeline of your research must be taking place, right? And also when a report should be expected. It's very, very important. So that's for that. How we can see why it's very, very important for you to include the timeline to your plan, your research plan. So the next one is present your research findings. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys this research. I'm going to show you guys the findings we did for the field studies. I'm not supposed to, but I'll just do that, right? But let me just say this. When it comes to your research findings, right, it is the final stage. It's very, see, you can't even escape your research finding because without your research findings, there is no point you trying to gather all this your problem statements, your objectives. No, there is no point. So just make sure that you document all of your process, right? Include the details about the setbacks you faced along the way, or probably the methodology, the materials, and even this is why I'm saying this is because your team can be, they're expected for them to see an overview or the look back on when you're trying to conduct the next research project. So let me just show you guys the report. Um, please, nobody should screenshot. Don't send me away from my workplace. Yeah, don't mind me. But then, so let me just. I was trying to work on a return management system. So this is my. You can see I make use of Figma to coordinate to do this. Do you understand? So you can also use your Google Docs. But I want to prove that I'm a designer. Do you get you know my me? So I had to make use of my tool, which is Figma, and also put more visuals to it. So you can see this is my research findings. Please, I'm begging you guys, don't screenshot though, please. So I just want to show you what a research findings is all about. So I had to do this. I had to so this is just for me to present to the stakeholders. Do you get? So so I had to list out my goals, right? The goals that was taking place during the research. So this is the research question that I was talking about. So it's a link. Do you get? So You can see this, it's a link. So I can't even show you this, right? Because it's from the company's account. Then this is the challenges we encountered. Like I said, I was saying something about setbacks, right? It's a normal thing for you to face setbacks when you're trying to test your products. Do you understand? Then I also list out the list. This is what we're trying to focus on, right? The inventory creation, POS and whatnot, right? So this is just what we're trying to do research on, right? So this is the kind of users, the breakdown, the this is just the findings. Let me just put it down the findings of the research we conducted, right? So this is the okay. I'm still going to come to this. This is my journey map, right? The under POS, these are just some of the pain points users faced when they were testing our products. Do you understand? So I think that was I can't just show you all. So that's for that. So let's continue. So that's for the research findings. So please, do we understand what it takes to create an amazing research plan? Do you understand? So do you know what it takes now? So I need response from Inge before we go into the next one. I need response from you guys. You guys understand what I'm trying to say so far? Okay. I need more response. Okay. And please, like I said, if you know I'm too fast, just try to call my attention so I can be slow a little bit. So
Yes, we understand. Sorry, excuse me.
yeah.
Just wanted to notify you that the call is being recorded. So maybe you
Oh,
want to.
okay. That's true. Oh, okay. It's fine, no problem. So but then please, okay, I'm sure you guys are not going to post it, so it's fine. Don't worry. The next one is participant recruitment. Okay, so I think I've already given you guys an overview of what the participant recruitment is all about. But this is supposed to be a topic on its own. I won't lie to you, but I'm just going to give you an insight on what it takes to recruit participants for your product or for your project. Do you understand? So I said the first step to a successful recruit is clarifying the goals of your research and which method you intend to use, right? So, like I said, this is the guys I was talking about, Nelson Norman. So it's a link. I'll share this slide to you guys. You can also look at this link, right? So there's a UX specialist at Nelson Norman Group that famously advised that for your usability testing studies, you only need 5 good participants. And I don't know if you guys heard me when I was saying this as well, that you need 5 good participants for them to test your product. Do you understand? So, um, just like the process of you trying to recruit participants for your research is an effectively sales pipeline, right? And I'm going to give you a reason why I said so. Um, if you look at any good salesperson, right, you've noticed that they always try to like they already know what the work is. Do you understand? So you being a UX researcher, you need to focus on building relationship first. See, if you don't build relationship, you know you're going to have a whole lot of setback, right? I know it's a normal thing. Just imagine someone that is trying to. Sorry, I hope you're adults here to set an illustration. So someone is trying to ask me out, right? And all you could just do is come to my DM for the first time, and you're like, "Oh, Lola, what's up? You're beautiful. Can you be my girlfriend?" You know it's not possible, right? So the person is just going to try to build a relationship first. It might be a friendship or whatnot, right? So just try to build a close relationship to your participants first before you can try to push out any of this thing that you're trying to push to them or something, right? So and the reason why this is very important is because you trying to form relationship with your UX research participants is actually the key to getting the kind of feedback that are necessary for your product, right? And you know there is a reason why you're trying to recruit your participants, right? And also, you trying to recruit quality users is very, very important for creating a trustworthy research report. If I don't know when you guys, maybe you guys heard me when I was saying something about, when I was saying something about the you trying to recruit the best users, right? So it's just about you trying to recruit quality users instead of you trying to recruit quantities, right? It is more of quality to quantity. Do you understand? So if the user you're trying to test with and you're not your target users, the quality of your insight in the report amounts to nothing. Yes. I'm sure it's something we are all familiar with, right? So probably these guys, the people you're trying to recruit, right, they're not even the people that are going to use the product at the end. There is no point. Do you understand? There is no point, trust me. So you just need to recruit those that you know that okay, these people they are part of the people that will be using this product in the future, right? So that's for that. Then the next one is how to recruit the right participants, right? So I only made mention of four, though there is a whole lot, and that is why I said, you see, participant recruitment thing. I won't lie to you, the topic on its own because I just had to list out just the basic for you guys, right? So, see, there is one thing for you to recruit for qualitative research, and there is one thing for you to recruit for quantitative research, right? So just know that it's a topic on its own, but we're just going to talk about the basic, like I said, because it's not a topic on its own. Like for this session we're trying to hold now, it's not a topic on its own, right? So, so let's start. Let's continue. I mean, how to recruit the right participants. Number one, trying to determine your intended participant, right? And I said something before we come to the slide that it's important for you to know those that are going to be using your product, right? Your users, your end users. Do you understand? And the reason why you have to know this or for you to determine this is because you're trying to collect data, right? It's going to help you to answer your questions. I don't know if you guys are flowing. Like the only way for you to do this is for you to ensure you talk to the right people. So just imagine that you're trying to create um a logistic. I keep mentioning logistic. I don't know. I've never worked on one before. So you're trying to work on a logistic product, right? And going to meet someone that is not even familiar with how logistic works, or that maybe the person have never ordered for a ride or whatnot. So trust me, just know that you can't collect the kind of feedback you are expecting from that person because the person is not even they don't even intend to even use anything that has to do with logistic products or Uber stuff like that. Do you understand? So it's very, very important to know that okay, these are the kind of people that can use my product. And before you can even do this, you need to ask yourself some questions before you can even define your target users, right? So I think I could just remember three or two. Yeah, so before we can do this, just know the kind of research methodology you have chosen, like I said, right? So, I said something about research methodology, right? So, just know the kind of methodology you want to use, right? Maybe field studies, maybe tree testing, maybe tax analysis, or whatnot. So, this is going to help you to determine the kind of participants you want to try to um take in for your research, right? Also ask yourself how many participants do you need, right? So all of these you're really trying to it's just part of the plan. You're really trying to know that okay, number one, I didn't know the kind of participants I want. I didn't know how many of these participants I want to recruit. Would you get? Then who do you want to hear from or speak with? Right? So from there, you already get to know the kind of tasks your participants are going to be doing, right? You already know the kind of tools they'll be using. You already even know the level of experience, right? So all this is very, very important because you can't just say, okay, hi Lola, I want to test the product with you. I'm trying to conduct a research. Can you help me to test this product? No, it doesn't work that way, right? So it's very, very important for you to know all of this. Just know the kind of the kind of tools your participants should be using, the kind of experience, know the level of experience, know how these people reason, right? From there, you really get to like know the honest feedback you're going to be getting from them. Do you understand the point? So, and just know that the answers to this question are also going to flow directly from the goals and objectives. I don't know if you guys can even remember when I was saying something about the objectives when it comes to research plan, right? You see how objective is very, very important in your study, right? And it's very, very important that everyone that involved in your research agrees on it, right? And make sure that you guys are able to finalize, like you guys finalize on the kind of methodology, the kind of participants you guys want to recruit before you even start recruiting your participants, right? So it doesn't have to come in as a shock for them that, oh, are you sure you contacted this person? Who is this person? Who is this? Right? You don't want to make your participant feel bad. Do you understand the point? I hope I'm making myself clear, and I hope you get in some of these points I'm trying to pinpoint, right? So, and that's why I said it's better for you to start with the clear objectives than to try to just shoot on your participant into a study, right? Because see, if you don't even have a clear objectives, you don't even know the kind of should I say where you want to start with, right? So, like I said, those that fail to plan to fail, right? So it's very, very important. In fact, you even have to plan when it comes to you recruiting your participants. So it's just best for you to think of the tasks and the responsibility that, or let me say, yeah, the responsibilities instead of their job titles. Do you understand? So that's for you trying to determine your intended participants. The next one you need to think of is for you to screen participants. Yeah. So there's something about screen participants. Yeah. There was a thing I did last month. Is it last month or last 3 weeks? I can't remember. There is a site I went to, userinterview.com, right? So there's a whole lot you can do on this site. You can even try to recruit participants on that site, right? No, not those external ones that you're trying to look for. It's just like Maze. I don't know if you guys have heard about Maze before. It's used to conduct usability testing and all of that, right? So on this user interview, you can also read articles. You can do a whole lot. So I also saw something about screen survey, right? This screen survey is just for it to survey your participants, right? You can use it to just know the kind of people you're trying to bring in for your research studies and all of that, right? So yeah, so that's just one thing. And the best way for you to do this is the one I know of, right? It's just one I know. I don't know about others. If there are even more, you can use something called screener survey. And these guys, they have it. These user interviews guys, right? You can use a screen survey to survey your participants, right? So just take before they qualify for your study. I also said something now also, you get to know the kind of people you're trying to involve in your research, right? So these criteria also, they're usually a mix of probably your psychographics. Yeah, when I checked the site, I saw a whole lot. In fact, it really opened my eye of understanding about we trying to recruit participants as well. Do you get? So what I mean by psychographics is your activities, right? The activities of that participant. Actually check all of this information if they truly align with the people you are trying to recruit. Do you understand? Understand their activities, their hobbies, in fact, even with their interests, understand their likes and their dislikes. Do you get? Another thing you can also try to look for when you're trying to screen your audience, your participants, is their behaviors. Do you get? So just try to understand what they do not do, just to understand or probably how they reason as well. Do you get? So you may also want to check their demographics. I think I've said this before. Demographics when it comes to your age, their age, their gender, their education, their marital status, or whatnot, right? Email, because all this is very, very important. Do you get? Because even when it comes to your Gen Z, your Gen X, and stuffs like that, right? So the kind of people that are going to help me to test my products, maybe I'm looking for participants from age 15 to 25, right? For this product, do you get? It might be different from the kind of age range I'm looking for the next product. It may be age from 75 to 85. Probably it's just for old people. So you can see why it's very, very important for you to know the demographics. So you get like see or check the honest feedback. It's very, very important. So also check their geographics. So what I mean by geographics is likes of country, their city, their region, or whatnot, right? So the way I'm trying to access a product here in Nigeria may be different from how I'm going to access a product in UK or US, or probably the kind of no, I'm black, right? So the way white people are also going to access the product might be different. So you need to understand all of this. It's very, very important. Do you get? So that's for screen participants. The next one is for you to determine how many participants you want, right? And I said something about UX specialists at NNG that you only need 5 good participants, right? And these are the people that have been parroting that advice ever since, right? Which is all these NNG guys. Trust me, they've been, and I really trust those guys. Do you understand? So just know that the right number of participants will also depend on the type of research you are doing and the specific method you plan to use. Right? Yeah. So you don't just say, okay, because energy said 5, then you not keep using 5 for whatever method you want to do. No, it doesn't work that way. I may want to conduct field studies today and I use 5. I may also want to conduct 3 testing tomorrow. I used 7. Do you understand? So it's not linear again. And just know that for most usability studies, right, 5 is just an ideal number. Trust me. Yes, it's an ideal number for you to use. Beyond that, you get to like even see all these diminishing returns, right? Unless, of course, you recruited the wrong people in the first place. Do you understand? So you can see that all of this is very, very important. And this is one of the reasons why I said participants recruitment is a topic on its own. Yes, it's a topic because I'm not sure I could ever cover everything. I can't cover everything here. Do you understand? So but what about user interviews, right? When it comes to diary studies or field studies or quantitative research and all of that, do you get it? So there's something called rule of thumb. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. So there is a principle behind the rule of thumb, right? You know, this our thumb now, our finger, this thumb finger, the way you try to access products, right? So the right number of participants for your probably your quantitative research. Let me use that as an illustration, right? However, many people even need to achieve the level of statistical significance that your study requires. Do you understand? So I always like to refer back to stuff that I've done, or probably like a real life, yeah, let me say a real life project. So back then in school, right, for academic researchers, there was a time that I was working with a particular lecturer. So I had to reach out to one academic researcher like that, right? So that could mean like maybe you trying to find 1,000 to 2,000 participants to achieve maximum reliability. Do you understand? So but most times when it comes to quantitative usability studies, right? Let me say 20 might be plenty. Yes, 20 is usually plenty, right? Although it might be an ideal number, which depends on the type of study you are trying to conduct, like I said. So let's put it this way: you can recruit 5 ideal numbers for your qualitative research. Then you can also recruit 20 users for your quantitative. Though 20 might be much. Did you get? Yeah, 20 might be much. So that's for you trying to determine how many participants you need. And You guys should start piling up your questions. So when we are done, so we can take up questions. So the last one is for it to determine the incentive of the participant. So I've said this before when I was saying about how to create a research plan, right? So incentive is just like, what do you intend to give your participants? What kind of compensation do you intend to give them, right? And trust me, there's always this kind of question of how much is enough, because I could say that last week, in fact, we really did a lot of meetings on incentives last week. We trying to deliberate on how much budget, but we're so intentional about this budget of a thing. So you can't escape it, right? There will always be a question of how much is enough when it comes to participants' incentives, right? And you don't want to overpay and you don't want to underpay either. Just know that because but when it comes to these people you're trying to recruit, probably on online. Some used to recruit by advertisements, social media advertisements, or whatnot. You may also want to use some companies, right, to recruit your participants. So just know that those ones are always expensive. So if you have the money to recruit those kind of participants, be ready, right? So your budget determines the kind of research you want to conduct again, right? And just know that too little incentive will not be effective in motivating the people to join your study. Yes, I don't know why this is so funny to me. Yeah, it's so funny because when it comes to you trying to determine the incentive as well, right? Just know that you don't want to overpay. Don't overpay and don't underpay them. You don't want them to feel like a beggar. Do you understand? So on the other hand as well, too much incentive also will also result in participants who are only interested in your incentive. And let me put you Nigerians, if you hear anything like free money, we're always happy. Yes, I'm number one. Yeah, I love money. I like money. Right. So just know that alone, so it might cost another thing for them. Right. And just know that your participant incentive as well should differ according to your geographical location. Do you understand? So just know that if you're trying to recruit participants from maybe US or UK, no, you can pay them in naira. So you can see how this thing is very, very important for you to know. So you have to jot all of this down, have a proper planning before you can recruit participants. So participants is not by saying, okay, I want to give them I want to have a budget of 5K to share for how many people. So it doesn't work that way. Do you understand? So that's for that. Moving to the next one. I would have loved to create a research plan for you guys, like a template. But I won't lie to you, it's a whole lot. And I don't want you guys to stick to that because if I try to create one, you may try to start using it for every project. And no, I'm not trying to help you. So what I could just help you with is you guys should also research more about the session we're trying to have today. Try to see how you can also come up with a proper research plan. Look at how you can also recruit people, right? So look at the screenshots I posted here. So I saw this on TopTal blog, right? Though it's from HubSpot, right? So HubSpot does a whole lot, right? So this is also like you trying to recruit participants. You can see all this. We have all contacts. Maybe probably this is the all participants you're trying to recruit, right? And check out of these contacts, who are those that are qualified. You move to stage two. Put them here. Do you get? You can also see all this information. See, I'm not saying you guys should be using HubSpot though. If you don't want to use HubSpot, you can also use Figma. Trust me, because if I want to do one, I'm not going to use Figma. I'm not going to use HubSpot. I will use Figma, right? You can even use Google Docs, whatever tool that works for you. Do you get it? So those that are qualified, they already moved from stage one to stage two. Now, out of these qualified people, who are the people that you've already contacted? Put them here. So there you're really trying to like have that, okay, this is a step-by-step process of how I want to um follow up on my participants. Do you understand? So out of those ones you've already contacted, how many of them accepted to be part of your participants? Put them here. Do you understand? So you can see that I'm trying to like follow a step-by-step process for you. Then after that, try to schedule a meeting for those already accepted, put it here to the next stage, right? So after scheduling, after you trying to do your research with them and not and whatnot, try to put them here. Those you've already thanked, though this thank may not be important, right? You may just want to thank them that okay, thank you, all of that. So those that are not interested, put them here. So there is one thing. The reason we had to screenshot this is because I love the way they structure their participants contact or the process. Just and so for you, you might not want to follow all of this process. Your all contacts qualified, no. But if you want to, it's allowed, right? So that's for that. Then the next one is user research reports. Um, when it comes to user research reports, okay, so a user research report is a crucial document that provides the product goals and scope of a research activity. So I hope you remember what I showed you guys here. So basically, this is a report, right, which is the same thing as findings. This is a report. So what this means is what I've been able to do on my research that I went to, which is my field studies, right? So the feedbacks, the goals, the pain points user faced. That is all what's comprised of your user research reports. Um, hope you guys are still flowing. Okay. So I defined a user research report as a crucial document that provides the product goal and scope for your user research activity. Right. So so if you're to go over the results from your findings and make note for yourself, right? So what I did as I did last week was, though it's not possible to carry laptop now to the market, so I had to use my phone. So, I don't know if most of you use iPhone, but there is a notepad. In fact, Android should also have it. So I made use of my iPhone, my notepad to jot all of these findings. So I had to like when I got home, I had to do a proper findings for the stakeholders and also for the other team members. Do you understand? So that's for my user research. So the goal is just for me to be able to summarize the results, right? Also to make it easier for myself and also structure the summary of everything that I've undergone during the field studies, right? So and also note something when you're trying to write a comprehensive user research report, right, just know that it's a beneficial step for you to understand how your user is, especially on the behavior, right? So it's just for you to understand how they interact, how the behavior are with your products, basically, right? So with this, you and your team can also create a successful product that allows many users to feel great satisfaction and joy, right? So there is one thing about me when it comes to Apple products or Google products. See, I don't just know, like I'm always satisfied with those guys, right? So some of us, so let me use Facebook or Instagram. Some of us might see this product, we do Instagram a lot, and they be like, oh, I love how they do this feature. No, it's not about I love how they do this feature, right? And you tend to copy or to that design inspires you, right? It's a normal thing for a design to inspire you to do something for your project, right? But then you need to ask yourself some certain questions. What informs these design decisions that Instagram did? It's not just about the cycle. So each time I see some designers, right, or probably non-designers, they'll be like, "Oh, I want to become a UI designer. I want to become a UX designer." No, some are going into this role because they don't want to code, but still we are doing a whole lot. It's a whole lot of brainstorming, a whole lot of thinking and whatnot, right? So just know all of this. So when you see a fine product, just know that a whole lot of research was put into this. Do you understand? So a whole lot of design decisions, a whole lot of planning, a whole lot of budgeting, and all of that, right? So that's one thing about user research reports. Then one of that thing, okay, so how to create a research report. I made mention of about 6 to 7 steps, which was even the same thing I still did last week. I keep emphasizing more on last week because it's a real life thing for me and it's so sweet for me to discuss it with you guys, right? So one thing I had to do is for me to reread the research findings, right? So when it comes to user-based testing, mm, it's quite complex. Yeah, I won't lie to you guys. Yeah, it's quite complex. And I'm not saying this in order to scare you guys. No, I'm not. Right. But it actually makes sense for you to have an insight from the testers, which are maybe probably your end users or your target users, right? So what you just need to do is for you to pay attention to every single details you are trying to collect from your users. Do you understand? And not to mention self that some critical thinking skills are necessary to read, right? Before the lines and also make meaningful recommendations. So now the question you need to ask yourself is how how do I make sure that I cover all of these bases? Right. So what you just need to do is for you to read, analyze all these research materials once again before you write, right? So just make sure that you do all of this. So what I used to do is for me to just I used to have a sketch, right? I have a personal sketchbook. I used to do like a rough sketching before I even do my. You see this report I showed you guys. It was a whole lot of cleaning. I had to use my. I had to. In fact, I erased the whole lot before I come up with that. So it's just for me to be able to analyze my results and make it easier for myself, and also structure the summary, right? So the next one is for me to create an outline for my reports. I said something about outline when I was discussing about the planning aspect, right? So, but just know something that there is no magical formula for the best summary structure. You see the way I structure my reports, the one I showed you guys. See, if another person on this call should have maybe another research findings, it might be more technical to my own. So that is why I said it's not linear, right? So just know what works for you. And one other thing, don't lie. See, I don't know why. Yeah, so don't lie. Yeah, right? And the reason is because you might just go online, you see a whole lot of reports, but the question you need to ask yourself is, don't deceive yourself. Yeah, that's just it. The findings you put down, does it really works for? Do you really conduct that kind of findings? Do you understand? So just be blunt with yourself, be honest, right? So nobody's going to take it for that. Just be honest and just put exact findings you made from your research. Do you understand? So, but you can go for this one, right? It ensures that you have a logical flow of your information, and it also covers some important areas, right? So, when it comes to your report outlines. So I'll just give some example. I've said it before earlier. So what I did for my report outline is I had to like list out my research goals and my objectives, right? So even from there, I even have the questions I asked them. It's the same thing I also put down my research plan. So I still have to include it. Though this is me, right? So I had to include it again on my research report. So I also put down the summary of my important findings. Like I said, don't lie. Just put the important findings you carried out during your research, right? So I also put down the method I used. I used field studies. I also other testing as well. Then I also include the number of participants I researched with, right? So and also include recommendation and a whole lot, though a whole lot, yeah. So that's for that, for my outline. Then the next one is for me to create a research goal. Um, so for this research goal, it should actually be the first section of my report, right? Because it's things to like give me a quick project background. When it comes to your goals now, so I have to describe them, right? We're trying to like, so it helps the stakeholders or even me myself to understand how the project contributed to making a better product. I don't know when this call is supposed to myself. Okay. So that's for that. So let me try to give an example. Mm, and I try to give the example later. I'm trying to remember one. So the next one is personal, right? Personal of your research. So it's just like you trying to give the relevant information about your participants. Where I was saying the psychological information, the demographic, the biography, the age, the gender, the status. So all this include your the personals of your research, right? So it's just for you to be able to let your readers know how many testers participated, right? And also give some demographic detail like your age, like what I said, sure, and why they are choosing. Did you get? So all this, I try to include the reason why I chose these people. You get? So, but just like I said, I keep emphasizing on this that whatever works for me might not works for you. So the most important thing is for you to have the proper research findings for yourself and for your stakeholders. Do you get? So the next one is quotes from interviews. So for this quotes, I'm supposed to leave it under the personals because I have my quotes under personals, right? So it could be the feedback, it could be the pain points, it could be the motivation, right? So quotes can come in any way. The next one is user journey map. When it comes to user journey, I will not talk more on this because yeah, user journey is a topic on its own as well. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with user journey maps. Probably very heard of it before, but I include my I included it into my research. So this is it here. For my research, this is my journey map. So if you check online, there are a whole lot of it, right? How to do a journey map, how to include the stage, journey, the recommendation, and I made mention of this. So it's just for you to be able to map out your user-centric research, right? So I also said something about assumptions and guesswork. Do you get? So don't assume that this is what your users will want. No, you just have to be blunt and include all of this in your customer journey maps. So the next one is document your findings. I think I don't have to say much on this. I've said this before. It's always important for you to put your findings, right? So you don't just state the findings, but also try to provide your explanation of why the test ended this way. Do you understand? So that's just a summary of how to write a proper research report. So that's all. And the conclusion is recognize people's current mental model for deciding where to work next. Right? So I think I've made mention of this that you need to understand people mental model. You need to understand how these people think, right? You need to understand what works for them. Don't be selfish, right? You just have to put your users first. So that's for that. Then discover the difficulties in deciding where to work. Um, you trying to discover the difficulties, their pain points, right? So all of this is going to inform your design decision when you're trying to design your high fidelity, right? So it's going to help you to know what and what you need to put in your design process. The next one is for you to identify the tools that consumers are probably using to get motivated and agree where to work next. So I've said this also, you need to understand the kind of tools they use, right? So Just the most important thing is just for you to understand more about your users, right? And one more thing, don't okay, know something that you're not designing for yourself, right? You are designing for users. So you need to put them first. So that is the end of my talk. So is there any question? You might want to reach out to me, but then is there any question? You can also message me on Slack in case you have any question. But now I'll be taking any question from now. Please, if you have any question, try to use the chat box so I can answer your question. Is there no question?
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Thank you so much for this wonderful session. I've learned so much, taking a lot of notes. I want to ask a question about the user journey map.
Okay, so
As you said, it's a topic on its own. I just want to ask, like, how would it inform your like key insights or your design decisions? How would it inform it? And then how exactly do you create it? And
okay,
where
so
do you do that too?
sorry, can you come again? You were breaking at some point.
Okay, so three questions. Like, how do you create a user journey map? When do you create it when you're conducting research? Is it like after user story, after empathy map? And then finally, how would this inform your design decisions?
Okay, so when it comes to user journey map, right? So one thing you need to understand is it helps you to give a visual representation of your customer experience, right? It's just a short thing that you need to know. So when it comes to your your customer journey map, right? It's from your empathy mapping. So of this, you need to understand how your user think. You need to understand how they feel, what they say, and whatnot, right? So all of this is going to inform the kind of should I say qualities that is going to they're going to put into your customer journey maps. Do you understand? So for your customer journey maps, um there is one thing about customer journey map. I would have love to open one project. No, I can't open it. Yeah, because it's banned by NDA. So there is one I did that it's quite different from the one I showed you guys. Like it's quite different. But one thing you need to know is you need to understand the scope first, right? You just need to build your personas. So all these are what you put into your customer journey maps. And one more thing, it's not a situation you do your customer journey map. Yeah, so don't deceive yourself. If you know you don't need this customer journey map in your process, you don't need to do it. The most important things for you to touch out is to list out your touch points and the channels. And also validate whatever thing you're trying to put to your mapping, your journey mapping. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you have. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Is there any other question?
Good evening, ma. I have a
Okay, I saw
question.
some question. Oh, so let me read this question. What key metrics do you use to determine the success of a user research? Okay, so when it comes to your user research, right, when it comes to the success of your user research, like I said, it's not linear, right? But this should be a conversation between you and your PM and the stakeholders. And yeah, this the reason I'm saying this is because whatever key metrics are used to determine the success of this research might be different from the one I'm going to use for another product. But let me give you this. You can list out key metrics like your drop off rates, right? Maybe probably you're trying to conduct usability testing for an existing product, right? So, what metrics do you want to use to determine the success of this UX research? You can use your conversion rates, right? You can also use your customer acquisition rate. You can use a drop-off rate as well. You need to understand why users are not using this your product, right? You need to know what leads to your conversion rate as well, right? And trust me, when it comes to your business model, you want to keep getting more money for your business, right? So you can use metrics like this, your drop-off rate, your conversion rate, your acquisition, and all of this is going to determine the product you're working on, or probably the research you're trying to conduct. I hope I answered your question, Yusuf Muhammad. Is Yusuf here?
Yeah, thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I think someone is trying to ask a question. So you can ask a question now.
Okay, good evening, ma. Thank you very
Yeah,
much
good evening, ma.
and the very wonderful lecture. My question is based on problem statements. Um,
Okay.
doing user research. I know that we can have like multiple user personas, but for problem statements, I wanted to confirm if, for instance, when we finish conducting and writing our user personas, when we get to the problem statement, can we have more than one problem statement? What I mean is that yes, we can have like this particular problem, fine. But do we have it like multiple times? That, okay, this is one problem, I have itemized it, and then and that place I write like another problem statement, or we have it just in one like um slide. I don't know if you get what I mean.
Okay, yeah, so I get what you're asking. Okay, so when it comes to problem statements, right, you need to understand that it helps you to sum up the user pain points. And what do I mean? Just know that you trying to have these two problem statements. How about you try to sum it up as one? And the reason I'm saying this is because you want you and your other team members, or probably your stakeholders, why not help them to be focused on one problem statement so they get to know what they need to focus on? Fine, it might happen that you have two, though me myself I've not tried it before, me trying to have two problem statements. No, I've not tried it, right? But to me, it's best that you have one. That two problem statements you are trying to have, just try to summarize it as one, right? And this, it will help you and your team members to be focused on one problem statement. And one more thing, if you're trying to have two problem statements, you might want to have a whole lot of process. Trust me. Yes, you can't escape it. You may have to have a whole lot of process. As you're focusing on one problem statement, you are trying to focus on another problem statement. Do you understand? So the best is just for you to be able to summarize the two of them as one problem statement. Do you understand?
Yes, thank you very much, ma'am.
Yeah, you're welcome. So is there any other question? Um, okay.
Good evening, ma.
Good evening, ma.
Yes, ma'am. My question is, when do you when do you write out your problem statement? Is it before your research or after your research?
Oh, it should be before. Yes, your problem statement comes before your research. And reason is because if you are going to do research, what exactly are you trying to solve with that problem statement? Nothing. Do you
Mm,
get? I don't know if you get that little thing I just explained to you now. So your problem statement is going to inform whatever research you are trying to take. Do you understand? So it should be your problem statement first before after your problem statement, then you conduct your research. Do you
okay.
understand? Yeah,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that's it. Yeah. So any other question?
Okay, man. Good evening, man. Thanks so
Good
much for
evening,
this
sir.
presentation. So I just want to ask a simple question here. So for the user persona, is it that because most of the diagram I've seen user persona, they are trying to like create some feelings in a certain level, maybe in different pages those users have like used before. So is it that we conduct this particular, we come up with this user persona after you launch your product, and they have tested the product, or before you launch the product?
Okay, so for your user persona, this is how user persona works. So
Sorry,
your
sorry,
user
sorry,
persona.
sorry, not user persona. Sorry, please. Journey map. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Do you want to rephrase your question?
Yeah, thank you. So what I was asking is that in journey map, I used to see a lot of diagram, like different feelings in different points, right? Some
Okay.
points they will be like happy, some point they are sad, and all those things. So, and you mentioned earlier that you can get this particular stuff from the empathy map, right? What they think, what they feel. So what I'm saying is that is it only, can we still conduct this particular empathy journey map in after we launch the product, or is it before we launch the product?
Yeah, so it should be before actually. So this is how your customer see all this your customer journey map. It's just it as a step-by-step process for you to be able to push out a good UI, a good UX for your users to use. Do you understand? Because when it comes to your customer journey map, right? So if you check this stuff I showed you guys from my office, right? So those are what I use to create my high fidelity. Do you get? Because from there I get to know what users are happy with. I get to get what users are not happy with. Do you understand? So from there, I'm going to understand, okay, how do I incorporate all of this research in my UI designs, in my UX design? I don't know if you get my point. So all of this research should be before, right? Before your UI, before your high fidelity. Did that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, you're welcome. So is there another question?
Hello, ma.
Good
Sorry, I have
afternoon.
another question.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can go on.
Okay, thank you, ma. My question is, for instance, when we are giving a brief, and then let's say we are asked to do something, maybe we're like giving a specific instruction. Let me say, for instance, we are told that when we are when we want to like design this particular e-commerce app, and they say that you must put they must be able to like go to the cart, like it must be very obvious, and they must understand that, okay, when you buy a product it goes straight to add to cart. Now, can we call that particular instruction that was given to us now a brief, a pain point, or a frustration, as in part of what you want to like focus on? Can we call that kind of thing a pain point? Is it possible, or those are things that we should just know that it has to be inculcated? It's not something that we need to work on. We just know that, okay, from the brief we were told to do it, so it should be done, not like a pain point.
Okay, so when it comes to pain point is like frustrations, right? Pain point is like what users are having difficulties with. Do you understand? So when it comes this question you just asked, it should just be like part of the feature your stakeholders would love to see. Do you understand? So you as a UX designer, you just is for you to be able to go and beyond this feature your stakeholder is asking you to do. I don't know if you get my point. And there is something about you trying to have a key metrics on cards, right? You might want to even achieve something called your success rate on you trying to see users flow, right? Look at how they're able to add a product to cards, right? Try to see their tax rate, the tax completion rate, I mean, right? You get to see the click rate and all this. So all of this should be like a part of feature that you as a UX designer you need to do. And even you might even want to even go beyond what your stakeholders want you to do. I don't know if you get my point.
Yes, I get. Thank you very much, ma.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let me take one more question and we are done. Is there any other question? Okay, so let me assume there is no other question. Thank you guys for attending this class. So I'll be sending in the link to this slide as well. So and I hope you guys are going to do great in your UX when you're trying to create something like your research plan, when you're trying to create your research reports, and also how to recruit your right participants. Thank you once again, guys. Thank you so much for attending this. Yeah, so bye guys. Do have a lovely weekend. Bye.